Generous Life on the Frontline podcast, where we discuss how we use our labor, influence, finances, and expertise to impact the lives of others. Well, today we're very fortunate. We have a financial coach that's going to be joining us today. His name is Jeremy Edmonds from Connecticut. Hey, welcome, Jeremy. Glad to have you on today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You bet. What baby step are you on? Your family? How do you earn income? Give us some quick background on you and the family.
Right. So me and the family, that means I got to pull up the picture of my kids. You can't say that, and I'm not going to get that picture. I'm going to subject you to that, but I promise they're super cute, so you can't.
There you go.
Find my camera here. So there's my two daughters.
Excellent.
Adelaide and Felicity. Felicity starts preschool in 2 days, and I'm a little bit in denial about it. So, but my wife and I have been married 12 days short of 11 years at this point.
Okay.
So our anniversary is coming up real soon. And what was the other part of the question? Income, and what was the first part?
Yeah. Wait. What baby step are you on?
What baby step?
And how do you earn your living?
Okay. So right now we are on baby step 3B. We're needing to rebuild 3 a little bit right now because of the journey of self-employment launching and needing to have that stuff happen a little bit. So we're rebuilding number 3 right now, but we're debt free and definitely have more than 1,000 in the Mercy Fund, but not quite. Like, it needs to be more months when you're self-employed, you know?
We brought you on, of course, to talk about coaching. Have you also coordinated classes in the back, FPU classes?
Yeah, I've coordinated 6.
So you are full-time coaching?
Yep, there ain't nothing else I do. That's why I'm here on Labor Day. My boss is real tough.
What's your journey to get to coaching? Give us that synopsis. How'd you get there?
In 2000, roughly 4 or 5, I had some friends, and they were like, I was in my 20s, they were late teens, and I got to know the whole family. So I was hanging out at their house, and the mom started, we'll put it nicely, complaining about how much debt she was in. And my type A kicked in and said, well, how much is it? And I didn't know any of these principles yet. It was about 6 more years after that I ever heard of Dave Ramsey. So she gave me a typical answer that at least I learned later was a typical answer, which is, I don't know. My type A responded again, and it's not acceptable answer, does not compute. My type A said, well, let's figure it out. So we sat down at her couch and coffee table and spread out the statements, and most of it was this car payment, surprise, surprise, right? And added it all together, and it was $13,000-ish, and I got the next typical response. Oh, it's more than I thought it was. All right, not paying attention. And so I looked at it and looked at her and said, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. But seems to me if you put $150 extra a month on this, it'd be gone in a year and a half. She looked at it, looked at me, looked at it again, looked at me again, said, I think you're right. I'm going to try it. And I watched how 2-3 months later, her attitude was totally different. And I said, wow, this is the power of paying attention and having a plan. Who'd have thunk it? Right?
That's great.
And that was only, it wasn't that long after I first learned how to budget myself. I think it was 20, I was 20, it was only maybe 2 years or 3 years after I learned how to do budgeting. And that's all I had learned at that point. I hadn't learned any of the other stuff. I was still in debt myself. I was still, at least paying off credit cards, if not carrying balances at that point. And so it was a very enlightening conversation. So over the next 5-6 years after that, I had a lot of conversations like that with other people. And I said, this is interesting. I'm really good at this. I don't know why. Then I was really getting dried out. I'm like, why am I in this soul-sucking dead-end day job? And the recession hit 2008 and all that stuff. I'm like, this is going nowhere, and it's definitely not going where it needs to go fast enough. Pay increases don't match inflation, all that stuff that I'm sure we're all familiar with. And so I said, let me start facilitating some of these financial peace classes that I just recently experienced myself. Let me start doing that to see if I like helping people that aren't my friends, see if they like me too. I co-coordinated. I was not the main coordinator.
Okay.
I just had so much fun talking with people after session and doing the class and so on, that solidified, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so the day after, that was back when it was a 13-week class, the day after the last lesson 13, I flew to Nashville to Lampo and went through the training.
So often here in our group, how many people are going through the coaching session right now, going through FCMT? So Jeremy, I mean, kind of how did this whole thing kind of get started for you, or how did you go and find your prospects, get things developing? Kind of how do you describe this whole process coming together for you coaching?
An utter and almost complete failure.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's real positive. Thanks for that information.
Don't you want to be a coach now? I never had ever had a business. My family never had businesses. No one in my family, except maybe my father-in-law, has ever had a business, and that was short-term where he didn't keep doing it. So I had nobody to turn to. I didn't go to school for business. I didn't go to school for finance, any of those things. So I had no freaking clue about how to make a business and how to do it. I did not quit my job. No matter what stage you're at, no matter whether you know any of those things that I just said I didn't know, don't quit the job, period. Don't. Like really, really slow transition. So I've been doing this 6.5 years. It took 4 years before it was 100%. By the grace of God, I got connected with another fellow coach that existed in Texas. I was really an island unto myself. I had no idea, number one, how to do coaching as a business, because that's not part of the Ramsey training model, because they can't be certified in Tennessee to be a teaching organization. So thankfully I got connected with this other coach who had been doing it longer. They just got to know me in general, wasn't on that particular topic. And then they asked me to join a mastermind group that they were a part of, and that really helped me tremendously.
So take me to, you get plugged into this group, you start learning, you start engaging, you had your initial training, you come and you keep on pursuing more information because you can't learn it all just through one training. You go and find other people that are like-minded who are also running the roads just like you're going to run the roads. So talk to me about these first 5 to 10 clients. What were they like? What was it? How bumpy was it going into the process? Did it kind of flow okay? Give us a feel on those first clients you had.
That's funny because I can only remember the very first two without looking up the names. The very first one was a couple that they were going through marriage counseling, and they were both going through individual counseling at the same time. They were a very, very difficult client to work with. They came to the first session, the session after that, and then it was it. They're out. They imploded. So my first client was a failure. Awesome, right? I still think of them from time to time, like, man, I wonder how they're doing. My first client that stuck with it was the second one. And that client was another couple. Husband's a physical therapist, and she is mom and does odd things here and MLMs here and all these little hodgepodge things, right? Earlier this year sometime, I got reconnected with the wife, who is now a family marriage counselor down the street from me where my office is now, which I didn't have this office back then.
Wow.
And she sent me a referral who's a client right now.
How much of your business has become word of mouth? Referrals from other people that have come and worked with you?
It's still a small amount.
Okay.
It's gotten much more that way now this year. My mentor, which is another topic, I got connected through him through the mastermind group, and I started mentoring him in technology because he's older and he needs help with that stuff. And he started mentoring me in business, and, we just barter that basically. And so I talked to him every 2 weeks for an hour. And for the past 3-4 years, I've lost track, at least 3 years. And so anyway, he said, because he's got a lot of experience with business, he said, it's going to take you to the 4th year till you're humming. I've definitely got a lot more of those referrals from past clients. I even have one client that just signed up Friday. That was a client I had before. They came back. And I've had more of those too recently.
Client comes in. Hey, Jeremy, I need help. Give me a perspective as a non-coach. Now, again, I sit here, I say non-coach. I believe I do coach people because I do budget trainings beforehand and after, and I'm available to talk to folks. But again, yours is very specific on how you're going to walk people through. Can you give us a taste and feel of what your time? Let's say if someone says I'm committing to this, if they come on board with you, kind of what are some of the processes, steps over a 3 to 4 month period of time that you may walk people through?
I have to be very intentional with communicating with the non-Dave Ramsey leads, which comes from reform, with people about, you talk to somebody great. Don't just hand them my card. Don't just say you should call Jeremy. Say, promote it. Obviously, promote here why you should talk to Jeremy, not just you should, and talk about that. But don't stop there. What I would love for you to do is pull out your smartphone and book a consultation with my site for them right on my webpage without them having to call me. That's even more ideal. But make sure, if nothing else, you get their permission to send me their contact information, because 95% of people will not call.
Good point.
They're ashamed, they're busy, they're scared, whatever. There's so much emotion around this stuff. Once I've got them on the phone, I take 10 minutes, maybe 15, and I reflect back to them what I already know. If, I get more information from like a form than I do from a word of mouth, obviously. What is the reason that, X, or I know this much, is that correct? Did I hear that right? Whatever. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Because I don't want to hear a story yet. I want to go, is that correct? Reflection, right? Yes. Okay, awesome. Tell me what it is you're looking for in a financial coach. If I ask, tell me what's going on, or tell me, why you need help, that's like, they're just going to try to do a session right there with you on the phone. They're going to dump for 45 minutes. And that's fine. I want to listen. I want to hear that stuff, but I want to do it in a constructive manner and in an organized manner that I can actually help them, instead of trying to shoot all these clay pigeons that are shooting at the same time, right? So I find that's a good leading question. What are you looking for in a financial coach? Because it gets their brain away from, this is the problem and I need to fix it, to what do I really actually need, right? So I listen to the reflection of that question, usually 10 minutes, and hear what they have to say. And then I just shut up. Maybe I affirm a little bit while they're talking. Yes, that's fine. That's normal. You feel that way, whatever, that type of stuff. When they're done, I reflect back to them. This is what I heard, A, B, C, D. Is that correct? Yes. Awesome. Next best step for you is I offer a free 30-minute consultation to everyone. I recommend we put that in the calendar. We get together. I take the 30 minutes. I go over that with them. I unpack it a little bit more. I tell them percentages. Well, your housing is this much of your income and stuff like that. And it's give them the numbers and confirm all that. And then I give them feedback after that during the consultation. I say, well, here's what I would do if I were you. Here's 1 or 2 tips that I came up with while thinking through this with you as to what you can use, whether you decide to hire me or not. Oftentimes that's a referral to an accountant. It's one of the most common ones because of the tax deduction issue, the tax refund issue. But it could be a lot of different things. So it's an overall, here's what I would do if I were in your situation in general. And here's 2 tips you can use and go from there. Now, here's how I can help you. Here's the other things you need help with. And here's the people that can help you with that, which is usually some of the tips to a referral to somebody else for something else like the accountant. If you want to do that, there's 2 options. You either hire me hour by hour and we limit it to 1 topic per hour, where we're going to actually drill down on that and get work done on that. Because if we don't, we're going to talk about 4 things in an hour and get nothing done that doesn't help you, right? But we're going to focus on 1 topic and you're going to be limited to that topic. And at the end of the session, I'm going to give you recommendations as to here's what we accomplished and here's what I think you should do next, A, B, C, D. What do you think? Because I'm not your parent, I'm your coach. Okay, I'm not here to tell you what to do. And then you're going to give me your feedback. You're going to say, Jeremy, that sucks. I don't want to do any of that. Or that all sounds awesome. Let's do it right now. Or somewhere in the middle, and we translate that into action steps. So when you leave the session, you're walking out going, you're not walking out going, that was awesome. What do we do now? But right. You know what to do next, whether you're seeing me again or not. That's the hourly topical coaching. That's the first option. The second option is the monthly coaching program where we work together long-term. Each session is an hour, but it happens every 2 weeks. So we're working on a regular, consistent basis. So we don't have to limit it to just 1 topic because we're going to be working together long-term. You leave each session with those action steps we discussed already as the same thing. But there's accountability baked into that process because session 1 is done. When you come back for session 2 and you said between those 2 you're going to do action step A, B, C, D, I'm there to go, great, let's keep working. Now, before we do, tell me about action step A, B, C, D. Did you get those done? Or yes, we did, and we need more information to help them get around those barriers. And then the last thing with the monthly coaching program is that they have me available whenever they need to call me, email me, text me, in between sessions, whenever they need me through the whole program, rather than just having me to talk for that 1 hour.
What are those things that consistently pop up that you're coaching people through consistently?
The number 1 reason is time management.
Okay.
I tell people, I'm like, I'm 80% a financial coach, 10% a life coach, and 10% a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
Because you can't avoid those things. They're so emotional, but also comes down to personal discipline. They can say they're going to do it and then they don't follow through. Now, all that being said, even if they're not great time managers, or, it doesn't have to be there's some executive or organizationally minded person, if they're hungry enough and they understand and are connected to their why, they're going to do it. they're just going to do it. A continual struggle is getting people to stay focused and keeping it so simple for them that they'll do it, but not so simple that they just go, oh, I don't have to get to it right now. The most common things that they don't get done is anything that's difficult, right? Because it's hard for them to face the facts and be honest with themselves. So if they need to sit down and have that weekly budget meeting with their spouse, that takes time for people that finally pick the date and the time, and every week they're going to have a weekly budget meeting with their spouse. That takes time, even if there isn't marital issues or tension around money. It's just because we are too freaking busy as Americans, and they've got to find some schedule, just to set aside an hour. I've literally had a client come in and tell me, I don't have any idea what I'm spending on anything, and have to give me 3 months of bank account for me to figure it out, and add it all up and categorize it and divide by averages. They had no clue on any single thing. I mean anything. Maybe the rent. They knew what the rent was. Yeah, that's it. Everything else, they had no idea what they were spending. And then I have people that come in and there's almost every single number in there, but half of them are guesses and none of them have due dates. And so there's always information missing. So
isn't that half the battle? I mean, that's when I'm coordinating classes, I can't do this for you. No one's going to do this for you. At some point, one of you, and as a single, of course, this comes back to, the reality is you are being a paid accountability person. That's what a coach is, if I'm not mistaken. You're bringing skills and talents and other things, but also from an accountability standpoint, you're right there. You can talk to them straight. Coaches talk to people straight.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because that's definitely true. But I think even more than that, although it's hard to compare, is that you are a salesman of hope. You have to be infusing their situation with hope. My mentor, recently I heard him say, when somebody asked him what is one of his strengths that he bring, I was surprised at his answer, but as soon as he said, I go, oh, that's exactly right. He said, I'm an encourager. I can see something good through the manure and tell them, yeah, but you did this. The person I was just mentioning that didn't know any of their expenses. No idea. So he sat down with me and we had the first session after all the other intro stuff I've said before. And I had done all the numbers crunching, from the statements and whatever, because he didn't know any of it. And what I did, and what he told me when he gave me that was, the only thing I know is I'm spending too much and eating out and I don't know how much, but I feel it. I just feel it. So I wrote on the whiteboard a number that was the average of his monthly eating out from 3 months. And I didn't write what it was. I just put the number on the board. He probably didn't even see the whiteboard. My whiteboard sits here. My clients sit here. And so he didn't even notice there was a number out there. We got towards the end of the session. I said, so I did the numbers correction. You want to know how much you're spending on eating out? And he said, before he could say no, I pointed at the whiteboard. He went, oh, like he just lost it. He just lost it. He's like, oh, it was painful to look at. It was almost $600 a month. And wow. And he had no clue what he was doing. He had no plan. And so suffice to say, I'm getting a rubber trail a little bit because important backstory to me anyway, a high C. And we stood up together before he walked out of that session. There's the first session. And we looked at the whiteboard. I said, look at that and say, you're going down. That is going down. You're no longer going to be controlled by this, right? So he left like, fast forward 3.5 months later into my 6-month process. 3.5 months later, we're having a remote phone call where now we're using a system where he's managing the spreadsheet, managing the budget through a software and type thing and all that jazz. And he's screen sharing with me so I can see all that, and we're doing all this technical stuff. The meeting starts before we get into that again. We've used the tool before this session. And I can just hear in his voice, something's off. And because I can't see him at this point, I don't hear him. And I said, dude, what's wrong? What's the matter? He said, well, I feel really discouraged. I didn't get any of the action steps done. There was like 7 action steps from last session, which is a lot. I didn't get any of them done. It's just been crazy, working this and that. Okay, well, hey, let's go through them anyway so we're on the same page. Okay? Excuse me. Went through them. He actually had done 2 of them. Dude, you actually did 2 of them. Stop being so hard on yourself, right? Okay, all right, cool, all right. There were minor ones. They were easy to do, but at least I got some done. Okay, now let's go over to the system and let's look at it. Okay, so you set between the beginning of when it was almost $600, you set a goal of $175 a month for eating out. And then you lowered it again, ballsy move that I wasn't against it, but I didn't come up with the idea, he did, to make it 125 instead. So now this was in May, we're sitting at the numbers and he's feeling this way. We talk about the actions. We jump into the numbers and it was the first month. This was the beginning of May. We were looking at April and how it finished. It was the first month that he had stayed within budget in every single category. Someone who had no idea what he was spending 3 months ago on anything. I said, and he stayed within every single budget number. Now, I said, let's just call him Jack. I said, Jack, you got look at this. I'm like, you're telling me you're not doing good? You just stayed in budget with everything for the first month. Like, hello, come on, right? And by the way, that's 125, which is like less than a fourth of what you used to spend on eating out, and you did it. You did it. Oh, wait a minute. By the way, you also set a goal because we do goal-focused finances here. You set a goal of putting $900 a month towards your debt freedom goal. So that's factored into this math, which means it's May. You now have $900 you set aside from April to pay down on your car. You spent $475 less this month than you used to spend on eating out 3 months ago, and you saved $900 you're going to pay down on debt.
Did he get it?
Oh, he got it.
We got to kind of wrap up, but here's the thing.
Sure.
What you said earlier, I don't care what word we're going to use, coaching, encourager, cheerleader. I mean, I think about the time when my wife and I, as we were walking through our debt-free journey, I had my prior FPU coordinator who I stayed in touch with. We were actually working with another service to help us support some reduction in finance charges on some credit cards. We didn't do debt consolidation, all that stuff. But I had a nonprofit, and I had a coach there who was right here in my local town, who I stayed in touch. And I'm telling you, the cheerleading that went on as one got knocked out and then another one got knocked out. When you have those team members, those people in your life that are engaging you, that are excited with you, who can find that positive to help you lift you to that next, so you can get to that next level. You can get to, because that's what you just started saying. No, you don't get it. You've made it to this. You don't realize the levels you're making because you can't always feel it, because you can't, you're living it every day you're living it. It's not as easy as every 2 weeks you get to see a different vision.
Yeah.
To see a bigger picture than when you're living and grinding every day. What a huge, that's where I'm really starting to see, to have that consistent coaching coming back, where you're seeing that once a month, every 2 weeks, and just it keeps coming and coming, and you can see that vision to walk them.
Yeah. There's no replacement for that.
Yeah.
And especially what I've learned over time is that the higher income clients, quote unquote, or the better off, well off, whatever. I mean, I live in Connecticut, so there's plenty of that affluenza around here. They may not even be so keen on accountability, but there's no substitute for objectivity. And so objectivity is very key, and that needs to be part of the marketing language as well. I'm objective. I don't sell financial products, so I'm unbiased, and I'm here to hold you accountable, right? To the level to which you want the accountability. Right. And we call that push level. And that's another topic. Right. So how hard can I push you when I need to hold you accountable and be blunt with you? Right. But it's to the level to which you allow me to keep you accountable, I will. Right. Otherwise you'll leave. But objectivity, almost nobody can argue with that. Right. Yeah. I get you. You can see things I can't see. Objectivity is two things. One, you can see what I can't see and help me see it, like this guy I just described. And two, objectivity is I'm not affected by what you're doing. So if I've got a couple that are fighting about it, I'm objective. So sometimes it's tricky because I got to make sure I don't agree too much with the one that's really right and find things to agree with the other guy about too, or whatever, to get them going, okay, I'm on both your teams. So that can be hard communicationally, but still the point is that even if I did just agree with one spouse all the time, I'm really just telling you what's in your best interest, because whatever you do does not change my life. so it has no effect on me whatsoever other than whether you stick around as a client or not. That's it.
Right. Jeremy, thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. Anytime.
I'll tell you what, it was great. People are really going to get a lot of insight from this. And again, there are people out there who are coordinators now wondering, should I become a coach? And what does that really look like or feel like? And I really think you gave that kind of that vision of the potential for people.
Yeah.
It's not you open up your shop tomorrow and things are just wildly successful. There are things to learn. There are steps to take. There are processes. And then, like you said, you started engaging with other like-minded people, getting your mastermind group together, started learning from people in the industry. It's just like any other industry. It's an industry within itself. You got to get around those people who are successful at doing it and learning from them.
Yeah. Can I give one more thought on that?
Go ahead.
The one last thing I would say is be honest with yourself about it. If you're not called to be a coach, don't frustrate yourself trying to be one. As a high C sitting here saying this is that if you think that financial coaching is helping people sit down and figure out the numbers, you're going to fail. It's not. It's just, here's the thing I realized just this year. Finally got it. Dave talks all the time about personal finances is 80% behavior and 20% math, right? Coaching is the same thing. Coaching is not coming in and going 80% numbers, 20% behavior. Wrong. It's 80% behavior, 20% math in how you coach too. You've got to look at them, and yes, we know they're not a machine. They're human and they have emotions, but you need to be looking more at that than you are looking at the numbers. And that can be a challenge, especially for someone as a high C like me. So if you're not supposed to do it, or you're not patient or a good teacher, you will be put through the crucible of becoming a better one, or you'll give up and be frustrated. So, really step back and understand it's not what you probably think it is, but that's okay. If this is your it's really a mission than it is more than it is a job. And it's not a job or business, it's something that, is this what you love to do and it gets you fired up? If you're getting fired up about solving problems and making the numbers work, you'll get tired of that real quick, because people will buck against you all the freaking day long because of their stubbornness or their will or whatever. But if you're passionate about changing lives, then this is what you're doing.
That was great. Great insight. Jeremy, thanks again. Great to have you on today.
Anytime, Scott.
Thanks again, Jeremy, for joining us today. Tell you what, you closed it out strong, really talking about those little baby steps that people have to see for themselves. But sometimes it takes a coordinator or a coach to come along and just encourage them and be their cheerleader, just to highlight that for them so they realize you are making progress. Until next time, thanks for joining our podcast, Generous Life on the Frontline, where you're utilizing your labor, influence, finance, and expertise to make an impact on the lives of others. Talk to you next time.